Welcome. I am Brenda Power, Medicine Woman, and I haven't been on this page in a while, so trying to get things back in order. Spirit has a lot to say, and it's important that we begin to start off slow, but get to know me. Spirit loves to talk, loves to share a ton of information, and it's moving into this new phase of life. Spirit has taught me through all of the healing. Now, first of all, what is healing? It's not just, let's put it this way, it's everything. When I started out, I began to, I'm going to heal this and I'm going to heal that. And what I ended up doing was healing was defined to me as something better than what I had. So it wasn't really clearly defined. Hello. And so when I thought, why don't I know what healing is? And it's changing something to get a different result. And so then I thought, I don't want insanity. I mean, God, that was the thing I was running from, is you doing the same thing every day, getting different results, and you don't. And you do the same thing every day and bashing your head in and get the same results. And it's like, wait, I just don't get this. And I'm not happy. I don't know what to do. And the more that I changed myself for others, I didn't understand that concept in the beginning, but I changed myself for others, and I noticed that makes them happy. I'm like, oh, okay. But I wasn't happy. What do I do? And so as time went by, I thought, okay, what do I do? And that's what I kept doing, is that program over and over and over. What do I do? What do I do? That was a symptom of myself. And that symptom of, I don't know what to do, you think, oh, that's just a response. No, that is turned into a symptom of what it is my program said. So the next part of the strategy is, I want something new. I can't figure it out. And what? My head literally would go bogged down. So my physical body is made of energy, and these energies, you can label them. I'm going to talk to you about the Meridians. And this energy would start creating units that represented segments of my life that I am to evolve from. That have arrested development. So here is the segment, is made up of maybe 2 or 3 meridians that tell a story. Now, what does that mean? For instance, how do I evolve from this? Where do I go from here? I want to be happy. How do I get to there? And I don't quite get how to get to happy. And so you get 14 meridians. 12 of them are labeled. 10 of them are labeled after organs and glands. Organs. The other 2 are named after symptoms or systems of and glands. So, but they're very important. They all work together. Then the other 2 represents the egg that keeps us protected from outside energies. And people don't quite understand that one and what you're supposed to do with it. So I thought, what am I supposed to do? So, I was already talking to Spirit, and I started to understand how to do synchronicities. But my mother got sick, and so she had cancer, and I thought, I don't understand this at all. And you do everything you can. And like I said, I changed myself to make people happy, but that did not make me happy. And then later I learned that it's not my job to make anybody happy. But how do I make myself happy without changing myself for others? And that's the thing. You're not supposed to change yourself for others. You're supposed to change yourself for yourself. And it's like, but I don't understand how to do that. And that is what becoming a spiritual human was all about for me. I was exposed when my mother got cancer to that we are made of energy, and that there are healing tools everywhere. You just have to ask and be open to receive. And so with synchronicity, that's what I did. I left myself open to receive. So as time went on, I met a faith healer, and which gave me information. He could see the potential in me, and thinking, I got potential, especially in this area of the field. And you don't really think of yourself as a confidence or leader, or that you have knowledge, because when you do try to show yourself, the world that we create in our paradigm is that you look selfish, you look smart-assed, you look, arrogant and egotistical. And it's like, but I don't want to grow in that field. I said no to that. And Spirit says, well, you have got to say, you have to unknow that. And I said, wait, what? It wasn't just to stop saying no, it was to unknow. And I thought, what did you just say? And my ego was like, shh, don't tell her. My spirit's going, wait, she heard it. And then I started to write it down. I need to unknow. I need to stop saying no, which puts the energy into pushing away what I don't want, which then the universe responds and gives me more of what I don't want. To look and say, that's not me. Okay. I take my power off it. I stop accepting and having the beliefs and giving it my willpower to push it away. I said, that's not me. So then the catalog of life, I opened it up and says, that's not me. This is more me. And see, and I didn't even know it was an option, but I let Spirit show me that there was many options. So I began to undo or unknow that. And I started to put my energy into areas that was me. And I stopped looking at how the world looked at me and said, this is who I am, this is how you are. And negative people say this, positive people say this. And it was like, well, if I want to become more me, and I don't know what that is, I need to start defining it. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, I have to start defining words, things like this. And so I became more open to listening to Spirit. And then as I began to define my words, I realized that it's not about them. It's none of my business about them, but I need to break away from those paradigms. And the more that I observed, learned, and let go, and a lot of times you can't let go because of your emotions. So what do you do about that? Because that's what drove me to that question in the first place, was the emotions, because emotions create change. It's a good thing, but it's also not a good thing. So you have to find that third option, that balance between the negative and the positive and the negative. You got to be able to stand on the teeter-totter or the seesaw without it tipping. And it's not about practicing that I'm going to be happy. No, it is to get legit with what that is. And your ego is just a lens that over-identifies with matter. So your emotions really are the driver. But what are those? The chemical peptides. And how do you stop letting it own you? How do you stop letting that experience stay the experience and own you instead of letting it sculpt you? And Spirit says, well, that's very good question. So now we look at all the tools again. And Spirit says, okay, so you're going to learn a little bit in each one and start building up the file system inside of you. Okay. And just when you think you know a lot, you have to always remember that you're a student. And the only way that you can be really good at being a student and learn is you have to teach. And the best way to teach is to repeat what you've learned. And then when you begin to teach it, you hesitate and you're like, you go to the drawing board and you get more information, redefine, bring it back. But it has nothing to do with failure and beating yourself up. It is sculpting. You're sculpting, just like a muscle, you're sculpting. And so I learned that my meridians are made of emotions. And if I'm beating myself up, then that usually is a meridian that's kicking off and setting off emotion. So when you're looking at meridians, I went and found out that each meridian has a representation of like one emotion, but then there's a whole array of emotions that back up that meridian, but it can interplay in other meridians. And later down the road, you find out how those emotions from other meridians can invade, which, you can address and heal and correct. So as time went on, I wanted to be happy. What do you do? Well, okay, redefine, understand my emotions. And then the tools came in. EFT came in first, emotional freedom technique. But I couldn't quite get the value of that. So I kept putting it off, not using it. And I said, well, if I'm going to do this or I'm going to teach, then I'm going to need to be able to way to measure that something has changed. Spirit says, good. You are listening. I'm like, I felt like a pat on my head. And I'm like, yeah, okay, good me. So measuring was very important because I want a fast turnaround. I want fast recovery. But when I am looking, I want meat and potatoes. I just don't want airy-fairy nothing. And I want permanent results. I want health and everything to move forward. So as Spirit said, okay, you want to be happy. Keep listening. Now, because you're new at this, it's going to take longer. But it will happen. So I set my GPS, my guiding, what do I call it? God, well, that's funny, a pointing system, but there was another word, spiritual word Spirit it used. And I wanted to move forward. So it's like, oh, thank you, Amy, for sharing. Patterson, thank you. I wanted to move forward in this. And I said, okay, so I said, I want my GPS to happiness. I wasn't quite sure how to define it. I just know that every time that I had a twang of emotion that was not happy or less than, because that's the part that was driving me crazy, that drove me to this point. How do I address it? What do I do? Spirit's okay, use other tools. And so then timeline therapy, neuralistical programming started to pop in. Hypnotherapy started to pop in. I thought, oh, those are interesting. Reiki started to come in. And so I started learning about messages from the body. And so the messages from the body was very important to me. And because it spoke in the language of emotions. And so as I listened to the body and I looked at the meridians, I'm thinking, oh, liver is anger. Okay. And then Spirit says, all right, now what I want you to do is I want you to, you know how when you have a dream, you take certain words and then you interpret them words, and then you can really listen to how the dream, your soul is talking to you. I said, yeah. Well, it's also about how you read the Akashic records that is in the body. And it's like, okay, gotcha. I can do that. But I still needed results. So even though Spirit told me that I practice studying about the hits, not the misses, when I'm doing my readings, and I have to use all of me. I have to listen. I have to see pictures. I have to feel. I have to smell. I have to taste. I use all of my sensory systems to do a reading. And so I realized that I can really get better, faster results. What's the importance of the reading is to understand where you accepted, believed, and put your energy into that experience of your life. And as I started to aim for happiness, the twangs were a very good indicator that, oh, I'm putting my energy not into happy. Why am I not happy? Do I want to cling to that? No. Now I notice that the gallbladder meridian makes me think. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't stop that. And I looked to Spirit. I says, okay, I noticed one of the meridians is driving me crazy. The stomach meridian and the gallbladder meridian, they help you overthink. They help you worry. And the conception vessel, the central one, is that I'm more vulnerable. And I noticed that my brain wave wasn't calm. It was very high beta, which then tripped the autonomic nervous system into being sympathetic, which you think that's a good word, but it's not. It just means you're in stress mode. And I'm like, oh God. And it was driving me crazy. How do you stop it? How do you stop it? How do you stop it? Spirit saw, good thing you asked. You need to interrupt the signal. And again, I went back to EFT. Now, timeline therapy helped me greatly on the emotions, but it didn't help when I started doing habitual things. I thought, well, I got to stop that habitual habit. And this is in your morphogenetic field, and it creates the same shit, different day. It creates the program that you're stuck in your matrix. And it's like, okay, well, I got to change this. But what do I do? Spirit says, good, you're paying attention. But again, if I'm going to use my ego, I'm going to get too anal. If I was an ego, I couldn't use my pendulum. If I was an ego, I would be placing my ego judgment and projections. And Spirit says, now that you've learned all that, you can now unlearn that again and apply yourself differently. And I thought, oh. But the more that I did this, the more confidence and the leader that I became, because what makes me who I am is the knowledge that Spirit teaches me. So Spirit has been sculpting me all along, which has been this fascinating thing for me. And as I allowed myself to step a little bit further into, okay, now I understood me, it's interacting with other humans. But I'm not happy. I don't want to clean the house every freaking day. I don't want to have to do this every day. I don't want to do Spirit says, do you hear yourself whine? I'm like, yes. Do you know that's a pattern? I do now. And do you know how emotion drives that? Yes. And of all things, it's the gallbladder. Okay, so now I'm wallowing and I'm whining. And so then Spirit said, okay, we're going to begin to show you energy medicine. And so Spirit then showed me how to move the energy in the body. Oh. And how the frontal lobe creates reality. And so I started studying all about the brain. Little did I know that by studying was transforming my world. So knowledge was a big successor in who I'm becoming, into my happiness. And Spirit says, had you noticed that you've grown in this last year? I said, no, I have. Now Spirit shows me that it usually takes my birthday and then New Year's and says, look, you've grown, because they're about 6 months apart. And I'm like, okay. And Spirit says it has nothing to do with comparing to anybody else. When you do look at everybody else, it's a platform of who you want to be, who you don't want to be, and where do you want to go, and is that the next thing you want to learn, or what intrigues you of the catalog of life. Now, if anytime you are comparing, you understand you're an ego and you're in a lesson. Gotcha. So I began to notice that my confidence level was coming up. So I didn't have to egotistically say, I'm going to be a leader and I'm going to act this way. And I'm going to, and it felt like I was producing false evidence. But being the spiritual person, it was so natural to just say, here, open your mouth and let the words come out. So I was very fascinated by this whole thing. Spirit says, but you're going to end up teaching this. And I'm like, what? And I get it now, but I wanted happiness. And the only way that I was noticing that I wasn't having happiness is because I was noticing the emotions and how they twanged. Then Spirit gave me the tools I needed, especially hope therapy, to understand that the meridians and the emotions in the meridians affect all of you. It affects your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And I didn't realize how much emotions, if your body knows you and body's consciousness knows you better than it knows yourself, body's consciousness will turn around and say, I'm going to give you a feeling, a sensation, or a symptom that's going to help you create your day. And I'm like, but I thought I was in charge. When you bend down to pick up the pencil you drop, and you're like, oh God, you whine or cry because it hurts. That's your body that's telling you. I mean, how many times have I sat there and go, I gotta go to the bathroom? And yet I don't get up. But my body goes, oh, geez, she still hasn't gotten up. Okay, fine. Give her the nudge. Man, I really got to go to the bathroom. I'm still not moving. A few minutes later, have you gone to the bathroom yet? God, I really need to go to the bathroom. Spirit says, when are you going to? And it's hilarious because your body talks all the time with aches, pains. People have diseases. People have issues. It's talking to you all the time, but nobody listens. And as I began to notice that I was saying what my body wanted to say, but I was still refusing to listen to it, I have to be pushed and shoved. That's not a way to live. So I said, Spirit, what do I do? Spirit says, you need to understand the body's talking. And you don't have to come out of your mouth, but pay attention to the body. Be mindful. So I learned about messages of the body. And it's amazing that it's not just aches and pains. It's symptoms of, I can't figure this out. That's a symptom. Because the meridians are making units. And this is how you responded when you're in school. Well, for me, I had a hard time grasping numbers because that's the left brain and I'm more right brain. And looking at comprehending like story problems or listening to the words, I still can't write very well because my writing's good, but when I go and I start to write, my brain sees certain things that are not there. And so when I type it out, it looks right to me. And then I reread it, it looks right to me. And, the best editing happens after you push post. You're like, I'm still not good at it. And so when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, God, I hate this. I don't want to go to school. All my reactions of dread and impending doom, and they created symptoms, and the symptoms showed up as words. Emotions show up as words, and more emotions show up as words. And I realized that when my body's talking, and I just took my thinking for granted, but the body doesn't just do aches and pains. It creates you to say shit, and it creates words. So as I feel, I think. It's not that I think and I just feel. I'm like, oh. So when I'm around certain energies, all of a sudden I'll listen to my thoughts, and it's like, oh, my body's talking. What are you saying? Oh, it has a little attitude of itself sometimes. Do we really have to exercise? I'm like, oh, shut up. You're exercising. But your body is based on those programs that you had in the past, that you experienced, that you watched, and then you became. Because we observe, and then we model, and then we become. And so it's so important to understand how the body speaks. How your little symptoms is because your body's talking. So when people come into me and they tell me that they have so much pain and that there's nothing that can help them, that is a belief system. And I have to respect that. I can't shove what I know down their throat because they don't have the experience I have. They only have the experience that creates them to think the way they are thinking right now. So you get to observe and learn and respect where everybody's coming from, because at one point I was exactly in their shoes. But I also learned that I'm not supposed to stay quiet, and the more quiet I am, it doesn't help anybody. And one day my friend, she was upset and called me every day. Well, same issue. Misery, suffering, pain. And Spirit says, why do you're not being fair. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm not being fair. Why? And Spirit says, because you're not sharing what you know. Well, I don't want to shove it down her throat or afraid to be wrong. Spirit says, well, now you've just told yourself that it's fear. And I'm like, oh, God. But I can always tell when people don't want me to share. So you can respect it, but what if they don't know that shit's out there? Oh, that's true. If you don't know that it's there, and you're asking, help me, and you don't know it's there. Oh, so I said to her, and I said, okay, well, this is what I do. And you don't have to live that way. There's an option. Suffering is an option. Joy, you're hardwired for. We just have to get you from one place to the other. And it's very simple, And I haven't heard back from her for a year. And it was like, So now basically she's weeded herself out of my life. And Spirit says, don't take offense to that. Understand she needed your energy to survive. Do you really want someone that's like a vampire? I says, no, I really don't. You're right. I have gotten more energy. But doesn't that mean I'm not a good friend? Spirit says, what are you doing? Judging? Are you an ego? Oh. Spirit says, okay, pay attention to your words. Got it. Totally makes sense. Okay, so then a lot of training going on. It's a lot of hard work to become who I am. But if you allow yourself to begin to notice these little things, you don't have to get caught. Now, I've gotten caught many times in the loop that, why aren't people talking to me? Why is it happening? You got to remember that you as you move into spirituality, you're moving into the cause and effect equation. Yes, in spirituality, we use equations. We're using math, spiritual math. But as I move into that, I don't want to be the effect. I don't want to be the consequences. I want karma to be balanced. I want the energy fields to be balanced. And the more that I gave, the more that I wasn't receiving, the more I'm the one that had bad shit in return. And it's like, shit, I can't blame anybody because your brain, as I learned, only sees itself. So it doesn't know if it's talking to a rock or yourself. You're like, really? Because we have a great imagination. It's called a Reconstruction. And when you reconstruct everything, it doesn't know whether it's real or fake. And then when you have something that's real, it doesn't know that it's real or fake. Your brain only sees a mirror. Oh, God, that means I can't even blame. Spirit says, you really want to blame somebody? I'm like, no, not really. But then when you get really mad, you want to. But you're actually seeing where your limitations are. These are not, sometimes they're not personal self-imposed. They can be a soul contract self-imposed or paradigms imposed, a genetic imposed, things that didn't get resolved. That now, as your spirit says, is it okay? Can you resolve it now? Every time you have shit happen, it's your spirit says, are you ready to resolve it now? And most of the people don't know that. They just, you mature. I watched somebody that was about 40 years old sitting on the floor being so pissed that nobody's paying attention to them. And this person's throwing a hissy fit and then started attacking me. And I'm like, you don't even know me. Why are you attacking me? So I started to investigate, and it's when you're just the effect, when you're just the end result, then you haven't learned that not little self, higher self, but the balanced self that's about self-reclaiming, that self-alliance. Because if you're being that you can't do anything because you have to have a buddy, be codependent, that you can't live without a partner, understand you have to be a partner to yourself. You have to make you better inside. And in the beginning of my program, I said, I changed myself to be happy by changing myself for others. And that's totally not right. When I started to change myself for myself, it's finally putting that oxygen mask on myself. And I realized that the effects will be the people that I had in my life are mad that I'm not showing up to the way that they defined me. And as I begin to change, they would use the old patterns of paradigm to be angry, tell me about it. Oh, God, you changed. Oh, I don't like the way you're acting. You need to grow out of that. I mean, then I started hearing different phrases and negativity as to say, shame you, come back to who you are. And as I began to watch those programs more, I'm like, oh, hell no. So every time I would hear them, I'd go, oh, I must be doing something right. I'm becoming more me. Because that twang of them getting mad at me. But it's a different form of twang. I don't have to take offense. I can look at it as, I'm moving. So as you begin to notice, as you start to want to become happier and you set that GPS, you are going to have to change a lot of your values. It's important. Family first. Is it? always be a good friend. Is it? Because I have misplaced loyalty issues. I'll be loyal to everybody, but nobody, those that don't want to be loyal to me, I don't need to pull myself back. It's just that I don't have to stay there and keep taking it when there's nothing locked back toward me. I don't need to be an it in the relationship because I have to be a good friend, and I noticed that as you grow, you redefine yourself and you're coming in and out of alignment all the time. And so it's okay to grow, and you have to be okay to lose your family and friends. Now, I have watched people that just got angry and just said, okay, I'm going to cut everybody out of my life. And that's the old way of running away, suppressing and all of this. But you're only going to get physical harm, and you're going to only see the stories in that fashion that represent that you haven't really done anything except for just move some puzzle pieces around. I want you to evolve. I want you to, instead of coping, handling, dealing, managing, pacifying, I want you to heal instead of deal. Do you understand? I want you to get results. I want you to know that you can do it. I did it. I know you can. And I want to be able to let spirit sculpt you in the way that you want to be sculpted. It's you and spirit. It's your relationship. So when I read the Akashic records that you already have laying out before you, it is reading the body, reading where you're putting your energy, reading what your soul is saying. I'm reading your programs, your strategies, your patterns. I'm reading how you're policing it in the now and creating the future. And people always come to me and say, I want to know the future. I'll say, just a second. How's your past? Because that, you're just picking it up, moving it over, and placing it right now. So when I get on to do these shows, I speak and then usually do readings afterwards. But a part of me just feels like I need to start educating. Now, I'm going to be starting groups, paid subscriptions for groups. I have groups already, but there's going to be the paid subscriptions. But there's also going to be the access of the lodge. Now, I don't exactly know what it's called. I just know that it's a medicine lodge. And this is about you entering a portal of becoming your spiritual human self. It is that part of you that's going into the next phase of what it means to be on this planet and not have to just be hardwired for suffering. You're not. Suffering is actually an option. Sounds really weird, but it is absolutely freaking true. Now, I'm going to give you the floor for just a minute. Is there any questions to what I taught? I don't want to know about the future. I don't want to have to give you readings right now. I just want you to participate. Do you have any questions about what I said? And that is what we're going to address. That's what I want to develop. And so in the lodge, you're going to have classes galore. You're going to have different levels, and hopefully eventually you'll have apprenticeship. But you are going to become your own authentic self. And you're going to find your purpose, passion, and the joys of life. You're going to be done with the paradigm of having to suffer and that you're shit out of luck. This is all you get. No. That's a paradigm that I'm hoping you're choosing to want to move from. So, what are you going to devote yourself to? Yourself? Or what do they think of me out there? Or what's the patterns? Oh, my agony. Oh. So where are you placing your thoughts? So we're going to teach you about how to become more mindful. We're going to teach about how to define the world. We're going to teach you different programs. So there's a lot of things that are coming into play. If you know of any information that will help me to understand how to create a web page properly, how to do social media, because, I'm doing my best, but it's also getting this information out and putting it on paper and what's the best format. How to, I know PDFs, videos, class participations. I'm thinking about how you could, if you join a class, you can have so many weeks, and then you would have, a couple days a week, so that it would take time for you to develop And so you'd have personal class. And then those that don't want the personal groups, then yes, that's offered so that you can progress by yourself to move forward. And eventually, we're going to get to where we need to be. Well, I thank you all for joining me. I'm going to have a show tonight that's going to have, readings available, and paid readings and free readings and things like this. So those of you that are new to listening to this, understand it's about, I give a 1-minute free read to whoever stays on at the end, but that's on certain shows. Now, this format of this video is going on my other page. But if you're going to want to look for the continuous videos that I do twice a week, you'll have to go to my other Medicine Woman page, and that's Medicine Woman 4, the number 4, you. And you'll find me there as well. So I do private readings. It doesn't cost that much, and you get a lot of information, and it's not just readings, but also healings. But thank you very much for attending and being with me today. So what I always like to say at the end is stay blessed.